What if I told you a 13-year-old kid with nothing but curiosity, a dream, and internet access managed to build something that even adults fear to mess with? A nuclear reactor. Sounds like a movie, right? But this isn't fiction. This is the unbelievable yet true story of Taylor Wilson, the American teenager who literally split the atom in his garage. Born in 1994 in Texarkana, Arkansas, Taylor wasn't your average kid. While other kids were busy with video games or baseball, Taylor had his eyes glued to science books, especially those about physics and nuclear energy. His fascination with atoms began when he was just 10 years old, after reading about radioactive elements online. He was obsessed with how the universe worked, and particularly how energy could be produced from the tiniest building blocks of matter. At 11, Taylor begged his parents for a Geiger counter, a device that detects radiation. Most kids ask for bikes or Xboxes, but not Taylor. He wanted to detect radioactive particles. His parents, Kenneth and Tiffany Wilson, initially thought it was just a phase, but it wasn't. They saw their son turning the family garage into a mini laboratory. His room was filled with gadgets, chemicals, lab notebooks, and glowing materials that would make even seasoned scientists nervous. And soon, his interest evolved into a full-blown mission: to build a nuclear fusion reactor. Now, fusion is no joke. It's the process that powers the sun. It's what makes hydrogen bombs, and here was this middle schooler in Arkansas thinking he could build one. But instead of doubting himself, Taylor started planning. He scoured the internet, read academic papers, and even contacted nuclear scientists. Some replied, some ignored. But the few who responded were stunned by Taylor's questions. He wasn't asking typical student queries. He was talking like someone deep in the world of nuclear physics. By 12, Taylor had convinced his parents to drive him to radiation supply shops. He collected old smoke detectors for their radioactive americium. He scavenged thrift stores for vacuum tubes and high-voltage capacitors, all this while keeping up with school. But there was one big problem. He needed uranium. Yes, that uranium. And while the word alone can trigger red flags in government systems, Taylor wasn't trying to be dangerous. He wanted to conduct experiments. So he found legal, trace amounts of uranium and other radioactive materials through special suppliers. His parents started to get concerned, and rightly so. But they believed in his passion. His dad, Kenneth, once said, "It was safer to let him do this in a controlled space than to stop him and have him experiment unsupervised." So they let him continue, cautiously. Then at 13, Taylor achieved something almost unimaginable. He built a small-scale nuclear fusion reactor called a Farnsworth-Hirsch fuser, and he became the youngest person in history to do it. Inside a vacuum chamber, Taylor was able to fuse deuterium atoms, a form of hydrogen, and produce nuclear fusion. He didn't power a city, of course, but he created fusion reactions, something even many universities haven't managed outside of controlled labs. It was a moment that made him a legend in the scientific community. His achievement gained national attention. Newspapers called him the boy who played with atoms. Scientists, journalists, and even government officials wanted to meet this young genius. At 14, he was invited to present at the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair, the Super Bowl of student science. There, standing in front of the world's top science minds, Taylor didn't just talk about fusion. He proposed a whole new idea: a radiation detection system to help identify nuclear threats like dirty bombs at border crossings. His invention was cheaper and faster than what was being used by the Department of Homeland Security. He won first place. Soon after, Taylor was giving TED Talks, meeting heads of state, and receiving offers from defense agencies and research labs. But he remained humble. He once said, "I'm not trying to blow anything up. I'm just trying to make the world a better place." And while many teens his age were getting their first phones or worrying about school dances, Taylor was designing reactors that could one day power spacecraft, treat cancer, or revolutionize energy production. But his story isn't just about science, it's about passion, about how raw curiosity, if nurtured, can turn into something world-changing. Taylor's parents didn't have PhDs, they didn't live in Silicon Valley, but they supported their son's dream, even when it sounded crazy. Today, Taylor Wilson continues to innovate in nuclear technology. He's been involved in startups, defense research, and energy innovation. His goal? To build safe, small nuclear reactors that could power remote areas or even be used in disaster zones. He's still young, but he's already made a mark that will last a lifetime. So the next time someone tells you that you're too young, too inexperienced, or too crazy to follow your dreams, remember the kid from Arkansas who built a nuclear reactor before he could even drive a car. Because sometimes the biggest ideas come from the smallest garages.